to see you again. It's Claire Cousins at Textiles East Fair. This is part 5 of my fabric book challenge. I hope you've enjoyed parts 1, 2, 3 and 4. If you've missed them, then I do recommend that you go back through my playlist and have a look. As I say, it's good to see all the bits and bobs leading up to the final part of the book making. And in this particular episode, you get to see me putting the book together. So come to my desk and see what I've been up to. All the book pages are nearly finished, so I've got them here like that, and they're all nearly finished. There's just this last one. I was going to show you how I fold that over and finish that off to strengthen that end, so I'm going to show you that in a bit. What I've got here also is the actual cover. So what I've done, I've popped these all together. Let me just move this out of the way for a minute. I then cut some Pelmet Violine, the size that will, if I just flip that over, you'll see it's a couple of mil, or I don't know, not even half an inch bigger, all the way around, and that makes my top and my bottom like a sandwich. And then I've cut myself a spine, and that's the depth of the pages. So that will be like that. Okay, so if you can see, if I just flip that there like that, you'll see that will go there on the spine. And that's cut using this, it's called Pelmet Violine. It's a stiffener used for your curtain pelmets. It's the stiffest interfacing that you can find, really. It depends where you live. I mean, obviously here it's called Violine. I'm sure other countries it's got a different name. And the reason I've done it like that is because, let me just show you these ones here. These are previous ones. I've got the spine here. It's got a cover on it. And then I've done eyelets through. And then I've punched through the pages. I don't know if you can see that. This one has actually got a card insert put in this particular book. Here's another example. So there's the spine, and here's the eyelet holes. And in this one you can see the holes are punched through. So that's that one. And then this one here, I've got some, especially, is it this one, one of these? Yeah, I've even gone so far as to find some pretty eyelets that are decorative. These have got little flowers on them. And you'll see again, I've come through, and it actually goes through all these pages, so you end up with a spine that's a bit like a arch-leafed folder, if you like. So it means you can really look at the pages, you can really flatten them out and really enjoy them. So that's the same process as I'm doing on this book. So then what I've done, I've then cut myself a piece of material which will actually then make this case. So let me just open this up. I popped that there like that. I pop that there like that. And I pop that there like that. And then close it. You will see that once that is on here, it will make a really nice book cover in one. So this is the outside, and the inside has already got the cover on. And I've chosen a fabric that's just happens to kind of match, and it is a piece of fabric I've had for a very long time. In fact, 22 years. I know that because I made my maternity nightie out of this fairy fabric, and this is the remains of it. So it's quite nice to use a fabric that's got some sentimental value. So, and then I'm going to put this is going to go on the front, but I need to make sure I've got enough hole space here for the eyelets. So it has to be slightly over, so it can't be central because of the eyelet holes. So I'm going to place it there, and I'm going to stitch this all. This isn't stitched yet, and that's not attached, and this is all going to be stitched down like that. And then on the back, if I flip that over like that, I've got some remnants of my internal bits that I'm going to put on the back. But the thing is, now I've planned it all out, I can do it before I actually attach it to the violin. So if I undo that now, let's take that back off. Let's take them off. Take my violin out. Now I have already marked it with my phantom. That will go here, like that. And then that will go there, like that. And as long as I remember to unfold it like that, I can stitch those down before I put the violin on. Now what I will do is I will use Bondaweb. We have what's called Bondaweb. Some people know it as Wonder Under or something. Anyway, it's a double-sided glue, if you like. It's a web, and you iron it on, and then when you iron it to a piece of fabric, the glue softens again and it will iron it on. So I would then iron that onto there, and I would iron it onto here. What I might have to do is not perhaps put the bee on later, because I might struggle to iron it with the bee there. Right, on this edge here, I'm going to do a blanket stitch. So I'm going into the fabrics and coming up to the edge. So into the fabric, up to the edge. Just catching the base fabric as well. So buttonhole stitch, you don't have to just use on the edges, you can use it to applique a patch down, which is what I'm doing here. Right, hopefully you can see here that I have been sewing the hexagons down using a very simple running stitch backwards and forwards. I suppose in a way it's a bit like a camphor stitch. I'm using a variegated thread, and I'm just off sewing it a little bit to sort of carry on the quilted effect. This is on a wool base, so it does sort of give it some texture, which is quite nice. And as I say, it's just a simple running stitch. Simple running stitch, up we go. I might just do one more row in there. Hopefully you can see how that's looking. Right, okay, here I've decided to do a running stitch in the pink, and then I'm going to weave in and out with the green. So I'm just trying to do a nice even running stitch. Like that, I'm going to go all the way around. Well, this half anyway of the hexagon. and then I'll show you, I'll carry on, but I'll show you how I'm going to do the green bit. So I've got the green thread ready. Just going to do a quick quilt, small quilter's knot in the end. And I'm going to come through to the front, and then I'm going to do the, where you weave in and out underneath. So you go up, use the blunt end of your needle. Now I could go round and do the wrap stitch, but this time I'm going to keep it so it goes from one side to the other, so I've got a ripple like that. Pull it slightly, I'm going to put it too tight because you want to keep that nice little ripple going on. Done one edge so you can see how it's looking like that. Now I could go back and do a figure of 8, but I don't know. I'll have a look, I'll put it on and we'll see. I might not like it, I might undo it, but I'll show it so you get the idea. So you can see now I've got the figure of 8 going on. Might be too heavy, I might have to undo it, but you can have a look. That's how it looks. Here I've decided, because I was umming and ahhing the best way to go about this, and I decided that what I would do would be to fold that in like that. Just tuck it in with the needles. Make sure I've still got a bit of an edge for the punches, a hole punch to go in and for it to lace up. And then all I'm doing is a very small stitch, like a slip stitch. Holding that to there, like that. That's the tiniest little slip stitch along that edge. And I've got a little bit that sticks out, trim it off. And carry on. This is the last one. I've done all the others. And I'm making sure I'm not going to the back, just enough to pick up this side, to stop this side from flapping about. Okay, so I've cut some Bonder web out. It's this sort of, it's a web interfacing stuff I've just shown you. It's like there's a layer of paper and this layer of web, and I've cut some off and I've popped it on to this strip of fabric. I'm just going to peel it off now. Like that. And this is like, you can feel it kind of feels sort of slightly rubberized. That will go like that in a minute. So I'm going to position these where I want these to go. It's that way. Double checking against the book. Yep. Flip it over. Right, so I'm just double checking because I've just flipped it over. So I'm lining it up with where I think I want it to go, which is around there. make sure I've got a little bit of a gap in the spine. Some stitching. That will go there, like that. Get a little bit of a space. Lay that down over the top. Just check I'm happy with it. Looks good to me. And then I'm going to give that a press. So I've got my ironing mat. Just transferring it to my ironing mat. Got my iron. And I'm just initially going to just give it a light tack around the outside. Make sure that spine's nicely ironed. Now obviously you'd use your iron setting to whatever your fabric is. I'm going to turn it over and give this side a good press. This is the inside of the cover, and then I'm going to iron in the crease there. Make sure that's well and truly stuck in. Like that. And you'll see that already the book is beginning to look more like a book. I can now trim this up and do my blanket stitch around it, and I can punch my holes through, and yeah, coming along lovely. Right, what I've done so far, I've done one already, and that is I've punched 5 holes evenly, and I've done that by making a paper template. So I'm lining the template up here. Got a nice solid surface. Mind you, cover your ears, and you'll see punches a nice hole. So if you can see that, put that back on there, line that up, ready for the next one. And I'll work my way along and do all of them like this. And there we go. So if I line that one with that one, just put a pin through there, I'll show you. Those will line up. And I'll do that to the other 3 I've got here. Right, I've lined up the back set of holes now, just slightly away from, that's the bend. Got my punch, and I'm going to punch these along here. Okay, they're all punched. Now this particular hole punch thing, I then have to change my tip to the tip that bends the eyelets, if I can find it. Ah, here it is. You can check the size by just holding it up against the eyelet and just seeing if it fits nicely, and it does. So all I do is pop the eyelet in like that. Oops. Bit fiddly. Pop them over and then use this one, fingers crossed, yeah, to tap them down. Do a bit more. And that just finishes them off. Now, I did have some decorative ones and I was umming and ahhing over them, but I think they're that little bit too big. They did look pretty, but yeah, I think they were just that little bit too big, which is a shame. So I'm going to carry on putting the rest of these eyelets in. All done, all eyeletted. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I did the blanket stitch with the beading in a minute on there, but you can see that already that if I do that, if I grab a pin, fingers crossed, it will go through each of these holes, yeah, and come out the other side. I'm just doing blanket stitch around the edge now, and I'm putting beads on. You can probably see the beads there. So if I go in, I'm just doing the general blanket stitch, finishing off this one. So every time you do a stitch, like that, you then thread on another bead, and that little bead will sit on the top edge. Then you do another blanket stitch. And then you pick up another bead. I mean, you can have several beads, you can have these blanket stitch different sizes, you can have the colours of the beads could keep changing. You know, it's a technique which is quite nice. You can have more bead. Oh, and if you forget to do what I've just done, which was to catch it, as you go underneath, and you should just sort of catch it now. I've seen it whereby people have put more than one bead on and you've ended up with like a little beaded loop, and that's quite nice too. So I think that's given you an idea of how the edge of your book can be a bit more glitzy. Right, I've just got a little bit of the beading left to do, but you can see how the beading's looking, so I thought I'd move on. Obviously the bead's going to go there. I'm going to leave him till very last. I'm just going to show you how I thread up the book. So at the top of the book, that's where I start, and I go through that hole. And then using the blunt end of my needle, I then go through each of the pages in turn, like that, feeding it on to the blunt end of my needle. Like that. And then I feed it through the back of the book. Having said that, I think I've missed a page. I have. So it's easy to undo. Grab the next one. And then pop it through there. And that's the first bit. Then I feed it back through. I drag most of it through, not all of it, a lot of it. And then I feed it back up and I go back through the next set of holes. Again, using the blunt end of my needle. Like that. Now it might be at this point that you want to just pull it all up fairly tight. That's it. And then we go back through the next hole in the front, and I do that all the way down each of the holes. Next one, and then I feed it into the next one, which in this case is hiding. Work my way back through. Like that. The next hole, and I'm going to pull it a little bit tighter now. Take it down the next one. Like that. And then finally the last hole there, and that, as you can see, has got the book all together. Now what I like to do, I like to run it all the way back, so then I've got dangly bits here. So this is where it can be a little bit fiddly to work our way back. Should be able to feed it back through the holes. Like that. And then you can see where there's now a gap, so I can fill that gap now by going back through from the front. Like that. And you can just turn the pages onto the needle like that. Through that hole there. And you can see again that's where the gap is. So I go back through. Keep turning the pages onto the needle. Through those holes. I would do one page at a time, and then go back up to the top. Okay, so back to the top, then I can pull that nice and tight. I can manipulate it, I can pull it like this, whichever one needs to be longer. I think that's actually just perfect, happy with that. And I can now tie it off here, just a simple double knot, just double check everything's all okay, and it is. So we'll do a double knot just there, like that. And then these ends, I'll put beads on. So I've already decided on the beads I want to use. So what I would do is I would probably do a knot part way down. to stop the bead going too far up. I'm going to thread a bead on, thread another bead on, and another one. And that one. So let's see how that looks. And then I can pop this one on to finish it off. And then what I might do is to go back up here. Keep going back up. And you can see how that little bead dangles looking. I would probably just do it through that knot I did earlier. Do a little knot through there. So I've knotted it back through that last one. I'm just going back down for a couple, and I can cut that tail off. Like that. And I've repeat with this one. I might do it a little bit. I like to stagger the length of them, so this one I might start a little bit sooner. And there we have my finished little dangles. Here's my finished book. I'm going to turn the pages and let you see for yourself. Well, thank you for joining me, and I hope you've enjoyed seeing how I finished and made this little fabric book from scratch. Please give it a thumbs up, and if you're not already subscribing, I recommend you subscribe. Thanks for joining me. Take care, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye for now.